Have you ever started or thinking about starting a business, but then you were so stuck in this idea, oh, I don't really know the perfect idea. I don't even know where to start. And what if I pick the wrong idea? What will I do then? And maybe that kept you so stuck that you didn't really know what next steps to take. And that is why I'm so super happy that I get to have Julia Hickman on the show today because she first started a health business. We're going to get into a little bit into deep into these things later on, but she first started a health business, then she started a podcast strategy business, then they went back a little bit to the health business, and that just shows that pivoting in your business, that is rather the rule than the exemption. So we are going to go deep on these topics and what learnings we have done, what are the achievements we have done, and how this can help you. So welcome, Julia, to my show. I'm so happy to have you here.
Hi, Josephine. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so happy to chat today.
Yeah, me too. So take us back a little bit. Where I know you also come from corporate, so maybe take us back a little bit to the corporate when you were in corporate, how that came to you starting your very first business.
Yeah, so starting an online business or starting any business at all, it wasn't really in my plans. I have to admit, it was a dream. I went to school. I went to business school. I had a marketing degree, hoping that I would one day open a gym. So I've always been a very health oriented, fitness oriented person. And I wanted to open up a gym one day. So I went to school for business and did not open up a gym after graduating, had a few different jobs. But my very last job, I worked for a big publishing company and I was expecting my first child, my son, and my husband and I decided that it would be better for our family if I quit my job. It was actually me more than my husband. He was more like, are you sure? We kind of need that paycheck. But I just for my well-being and for the type of lifestyle that I wanted us to run, it was better for me to quit my job. And so I had started to do some fitness coaching on the side, but it was totally a hobby. It was not in my plan. I didn't have this plan like, oh, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to become a fitness coach. I'm going to do that full time, blah, blah, blah. No, not in my plans. I thought, okay, I'm going to stay home for a little bit and then I'll go back to a job eventually, right? I'll go back to corporate in a couple of years. But what happened was I was stay at home and then I quickly started to feel like, okay, I love being home with my son, but I need a little something else. I need something that's just for me. I want to make a little bit of my own spending money. I just need something for myself. And so the easy thing there was for me to pick up some more hours at the gym where I was working. And then that led me to eventually starting my own mini business where people were coming to my house and I had my own clients. And then eventually that led to creating an online fitness business. And I worked mostly with busy moms who, don't have hours and hours to go to the gym, drive there, park, get changed, come back, and do all the hundreds of things that they do every day. And it, it kind of grew pretty quickly. I had a nice following and things were going great for a while until now I'm, having my second child and I'm sort of wanting to birth something new. And so at the time I thought of a couple of different options. I actually didn't tell you this, Josephine, but I actually was also a launch strategist for some time. I got a certification and I helped some business owners do their live launches. But it wasn't quite it. Like it was okay. Like I like being behind the scenes a little bit more than in front of the scenes, but it wasn't quite it. And I actually had started a podcast for my fitness business. And I was like, I think it was a little bit of like imposter syndrome at the time because I was like, well, I don't know if I know everything there is to know about podcasting. But I said, you know what? I know more than a lot of people. And so I started offering my services, did, some strategy calls, and and launched that business. So kind of tweaked the launch strategy to be podcast strategy, and started that new business. But what I decided was, two little kids, two young kids at home. This was COVID. So COVID, not a lot of childcare options available at the time. And I'm like, there's just no way that I could do both businesses. So what I decided to do was to actually put my fitness coaching business on pause. I kept one-on-one client, in person one-on-one client. And then once my online clients, once their packages were over, I closed that up. And it was the right decision for me because, like I said, I had two young kids at home. I just knew that I was going to be wearing myself really thin, stretching myself very thin, trying to juggle two businesses at the time. It was not the right time for me. I had help. It wasn't like I was completely on my own. I did have a VA, but it just felt like it was going to be too much. And so plus online, kept one-on-one, which it was a client that I really loved working with. And I felt like it would keep me, it's like keeping one foot in that door, so in case I ever wanted to go back to it, I still, I'm still involved in it. Right. And so that's how that pivot happened. The podcast strategy business sort of grew organically, just like the launch strategy business did. And so that's how I got to the point. And then after running my podcast business for about a year and a half, now, kids are a little bit older. COVID was not such a big deal anymore. And so I had a couple of past clients saying to me, hey, like, have you ever thought about opening up your online program again? And I was like, oh, okay. And I kept thinking about it and saying, okay, like in 2 months, I'm going to do it in 2 months. And then finally this summer, I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it imperfectly. I'm not expecting this giant launch. But it's work that to me is very important. And it's also, in a way, it helps me because it keeps me accountable. So, so that's how it all happened. The pivot, and then the going back to the first business, and it's been a lot of fun.
And when I listen to it, it also sounds like you kind of listen to the demand that's there. You don't try to kind of give birth to an idea that kind of isn't, how do you put this, but that isn't there. You kind of listen to the demand, and then it kind of starts a little bit like a moment, and then you follow through with that. Have I gotten that correctly?
That's totally correct. With all the things that I've ever created, with the launch strategy, I noticed in the business coaching group that I was a part of, a lot of people were launching. And so I said, I have a lot of experience launching. I've launched for my fitness business. I got a certification just to kind of have that like little extra confidence boost. And I just started supporting people. And it was because I was listening to what other entrepreneurs needed in the space. And same thing with the podcast strategy, right? A lot of business owners want to have a marketing method where they are putting out long form content, evergreen content, and a podcast is a great tool for that. So I listened to what people were saying in that case too. And then also, the health and fitness coaching business too.
And what I also love about podcasts or YouTube videos is that you kind of like, at the same time that you do that, you create a little bit like an inventory of lessons and things like that you can share with your future prospects or future leads, and even with the clients, because you have like a little bucket of resources. And I think that is huge. So when I started Josefine Meets, for example, I started with going live on LinkedIn, and it kind of helped me get over that hurdle. But then what happened with those videos was it felt as if they were just, disappearing in thin air, and you couldn't really find them afterwards. And that's what brought me to to the YouTube channel that, where you have them there, and then you can say, hey, I had an interview with Julia, check this out, or I had an interview with whomever, right? Check this out. So I think that is also really, really important. But we spoke about this before, you and I, before we started this chat, that it seems as if there are people who kind of feel that they have to stick to a business idea, or stick to just, that as if they are, I think you used the term, as if they're married to it for life, right? They have to stick to that idea, and they have to. So can we start going a little bit deeper into that? What do you think about that?
Yes. I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially, I was going to say, especially for like brand new entrepreneurs, maybe people who don't have a lot of experience in business, but I actually am not sure. I feel like I was just called to say that, but I don't have anything to back that up. So I don't want to make up any stats. But I feel like we tend to think that the business that we start, because I think here's where I think that thought came from, is because I think a lot of us start our first businesses with something that we dealt with ourselves. So for example, somebody who, I'm trying to think of something, like somebody who had gut issues, they become a health coach who specializes in gut issues, right? Something like that, right? So we are like teaching others what we have learned to overcome ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of like become really attached to that business. And then sometimes when it's time to pivot or to do something differently, we're really, really scared and nervous to do it, and like hesitant. And that's normal. That's totally normal. But I think that what I have learned, and being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, is such a personal development journey. I'm sure you can agree with me, Josefine, but there's so much that we learn about ourselves. And the one thing is that we all change, right? We all have new life experiences. We meet new people. We learn from them. We like learn new interests. And so it's almost like, I would say, even like impossible for our businesses to stay exactly the same forever. Well, that might mean that you just create new offers for your business, or you create an entirely new business. That's okay. And going back to like, what are the people that you want to work with? What do they need? Because I think that's where you can really create a business that is well aligned for you, is where you can fill a gap for somebody. And so I was saying to you, Josefine, like, I don't even know where my podcast strategy business is going to go, because I love working with podcasts, but I also love marketing. I'm a marketing, like that's what I learned. That's what I've been doing within my fitness coaching business and coaching people. So it's, I'm not attached to my business, to that business being exactly the way that it is. I just know that I love to help others and help people multiply their impact. And I think that we can just, if we can stay like, stay focused on what we feel like our purpose is, but that might, like, what that actually entails might change, and that's okay. And it's also, I should point out that it's not like jumping from shiny object to shiny object, or starting a new business every time we feel like we're bored, or like something is not working exactly the way we want it to. It's just about, seeing like, okay, am I ready to take this to the next level? Am I ready to add on to this? Am I ready to, like, burn this to the ground? Or am I ready to sell this? There's many different options. And it's about, number one, seeing where your life is at the moment. Like, if you're a mother with young kids, might not be the best time to add on a bunch of other things, without especially having support. But if you're ready for that, then that could be a great thing for you. So that's how I've looked at my journey so far. And I feel like that gives me the permission to reinvent myself. And and grow and keep serving in my different businesses, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what I'm here to do. Is I'm here to serve the clients that are right fit to work with me.
And you know what I also really love about, the I would actually call them pivots in your business, because you started with the demand with the health coaching, and then you saw another demand of the launching, and you used, if you hadn't started as a health coach, you wouldn't have had the experience of launching. So you couldn't have started your launch. You can do everything and anything, but
Mhm.
it's probably easier because you also then spoke the language of the people. You knew the struggles of the people. And then yes, of course, we need to do a little bit more deep dives and talking to them and everything. And then you use that to pivot into the next step, which was the podcasting, which is one way to market your business. Launching is another way to market your business, and adding those two is like amazing knowledge to have for someone. And then going back a little bit to probably a little bit what I would say your passion about, the health, being healthy. And I know you're also super fit yourself. You're a perfect role model for your clients. And I think that merging that with your passion for health and the knowledge you have about strategies, about launching and podcasting, because it's also, a podcast is not just to do a podcast. You actually also have to launch the podcast. I mean, I had someone saying to me, no, I can't do that now. I need to write my book first. And I was like, yeah, but for the book to be successful, you also need a launch strategy for the book. So it's not just, it's not as if you can write a book and then all of a sudden 2 million people will buy the book. It's behind everything. If it's a podcast, if it's a new offer or whatever it might be, there is strategy behind everything. And merging all those experiences you're having, I mean, that's just amazing. And also be humble about that. You know what? I'm actually ready to do something else. I think that is really, because otherwise I think we get bored and a little bit like might even start to resent the clients that we might be attracting, and then we definitely attract the wrong people. So building on the whole kind of like experience and your passion, and if we talk about that, maybe we could talk about that a little bit. What do you think about just basing a business on your passion? What would you say then?
I think that could be a great thing to do. That's how I started the fitness coaching business. It was based
Mm-hmm.
on a passion, based on something that I love to do. And so it became very easy for me to talk about it and to show up for it. So sometimes that could be a thing that holds somebody back. They're so scared to show up. But if it's something that I'm especially thinking of somebody who's like a health coach or a wellness coach, right? Like you know that it's like a lifestyle, some type of lifestyle coach, right? Like people want to see how you're living your life. So it's almost like you have to show how you have to show some parts of your life, of your personal life, so that people can see like, okay, this is how this person lives their lives. And I'm not saying that if somebody who's a health coach is watching this, or a fitness coach, I'm not saying that you have to be like a perfectly fit person. But I think that also we have to kind of walk the walk and talk the talk in our businesses. So it is important to be, like, not just do as I say, but do as I do, to be a role model. And that was also why I wanted to relaunch my business in the fitness business, because last year I found myself really slacking off with my routine. And so now I have to keep up, because I do live workouts in my program. And so if I don't feel like showing up, that's not going to be good, So there's
I
no
think that if I recall it correctly, I think you even announced that a little bit like, I'm actually holding myself accountable by doing this. It's not just,
exactly.
I'm not only doing this for you, I'm actually also doing it for me. So the whole kind of like, how do you say, like authenticity is there. It's because we do things because we love doing them, but then also adding, I'm holding myself accountable. I'm walking, as you said, I'm walking the walk. And I think that is always telling people why you want to do something or why you're doing something always makes it so much easier.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think me being honest about like, look, I struggled last year, uh, my daughter was still not in full-time daycare, which that was a choice. That was great. But that also, the trade-off was that I didn't have as much me time because I was also
Mm.
running the business and taking care of her. Um, but I think that allows me to connect with my ideal audience, which is, busy full-time working moms or entrepreneurial moms. They're like, okay, we get it. We get it, right? We get it because we are busy and we don't have time for all the things. And so I'm also showing them that it happens. It happens to me, who it like fitness and wellness. It's very, very important for me. But
Mm-hmm.
there are times when it's just not at the top of the priority list because other things have to be there.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, I think that is also so important. And also, we touched a little bit on that, but also based on the core values, or we actually you used purpose. I think purpose, or finding a why, that can be a little bit big sometimes, a little bit almost like, oh my God, I have. Especially for me, for example, I had suppressed my purpose for over 20 years. Then it's really difficult to find it again. So it's like taking small steps and maybe identify the core values and what is it that makes this important to me, and why do I want to do this, and what is the purpose of that, and not necessarily what is the purpose of me being here, or what is my purpose. It kind of break. I think you said that before we actually started the recording, breaking things down into smaller pieces to make them easier to overcome. So what are one of your biggest learnings, would you say, since you started your business?
Um, that's a great question. I feel like I've learned so much. One of the biggest learnings is that there's ups and downs, and that is totally normal. And to not get scared every time every time things are not happening so well, whether it's a launch that's not going so well, or whether it's, oh, a couple of clients want to quit, or whether it's, leads who were so interested, but now they're ghosting you, or, nobody's commenting on your post, whatever it is that's happening, it's, it's, it's not always going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's, there's ups and downs, just like in everything else. And it's really important. I know people use the word mindset,
Mm.
but it's really important to not expect our businesses um, to fill all of our needs, because I think sometimes we want our businesses to be like our kid, our baby, who like makes, is silly and makes us giggle and laugh and makes us happy. And our businesses are their own thing. So that's something that I've learned, and it's something that it's not always easy to it's you have to keep reminding yourself of that. Like it's a journey. It's definitely a journey. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's
And I
really
also think
worthwhile.
when you start life a little bit like lifestyle businesses that both you and I have, that is might be difficult to set the boundaries, but then really, and that's something that I've come to realize, we need those breaks. Before I was really like, no, it's, I have a lifestyle business, I don't really have a weekend. Yeah, but my kids are off on weekends. So that is kind of like, I kind of have to, I can't just, go like a train, like just, straight ahead and no breaks. It's like, okay, so what are the needs of my family? When do I need to be with them? That is also, for example, my first launches, I had them in August. So meaning I had to promote it during the whole school holidays, things like that, we need to kind of learn those things, because we don't think, or I didn't think like that, at least in the beginning. So if someone would kind of like think in terms of, I really want to start my business, or let's take it this way instead. I feel that something is a little bit off in my business. I really want to pivot or want to do something else, figure out something else. What would you want to tell that person?
Yes, and this is actually something great that I read this somewhere. I can't remember where I read it, but it was more geared towards kids who play sports. And it was something like, if you feel like quitting, don't don't make that decision when you've had a bad day.
Hmm.
When you've had a bad game or a bad practice, don't make that decision. Ask yourself that when you've had a great game or when you've had a great like performance, do you want to quit then? And I think
Yeah.
that's the key, because that's going to tell you the truth. Because like I said before, when things are like not going so great, when things are stressful, it's easy to be like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. Let me see what else I can do. Or let me create a new offer because this one wasn't selling. Right.
Yeah.
So, but if you had a launch and it was going great, or you had just, if you had a couple clients leave you some great testimonials, ask yourself, do I want to quit this business, or do I want to do XYZ, whatever the question is.
Hmm.
And I think that's where we're really going to get our answer.
Yeah. So many golden nuggets here, Julia. And I really, really appreciate you showing up and also being so real and vulnerable. Also, now that you said, as you said, I don't really know where my podcast business is going. And I think that is a little bit where most of us are actually. I don't really. I mean, we plan it out. There are things, but there are still things that are uncertain. I really like that. So, people are watching this and they want to connect with you. How do they best connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm on social media. You can find me if you search my name on Instagram or Facebook. And then I'm also on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I share a little bit more about podcasting, and Instagram and Facebook are more lifestyle fitness related content. So pick your choose, take your pick.
Exactly. Pick the platform that you like the most, and then you connect with Julia there. And I will
And
also make sure.
one more thing. Sorry, I almost forgot. I also have a podcast. So if you
Yeah.
enjoy a podcast, the name of my podcast is the Elevated Femmes Movement.
Yeah, so I will make sure we add the links to your social media so that people can connect with you, and also to your podcast, because you have an amazing podcast with guests in there. I got to be a guest one, so I'll make sure we add that episode to it too. So thank you so much, Julia, for being a guest on my show, Josefine Meets, and thank you all so much. Don't forget to subscribe to this one so you get more inspirational stories from all the various entrepreneurs that I have here on the show. So thank you all so much for being here. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you.